And it's like, to kind of like hear like you have nobody to answer to, it kind of like puts you in a position where you can think like, well, if I ain't got nobody to answer to, if I can do whatever the hell I want to do.
What makes you think I have nobody to answer to?
Whatever comes to my mind, I can just do it.
Yeah, but you see, that's another one. That's more of this kind of cultural misinformation that Matt was talking about before. The idea, part of the way religion makes you dependent upon itself. And that is the job of religion. Religion wants believers who are dependent upon the religion for pretty much everything in their lives. For their sense of personal security, for their sense of what they think might be right and wrong. Religion, it sounds kind of melodramatic and, like conspiracy thinking to say it wants to control you, but, in a simplistic sense, that's kind of how it is. Religion wants you to be dependent on it. Like, if you, say in some relationships where you have a husband and a wife and the husband's very domineering and he wants the wife to be totally dependent on him and not have her own life. It's a similar situation to that. So one of the ideas that religion has sort of put out there in this culture is that in terms of right and wrong and what you can and can't do, if there isn't a God, well then maybe that must mean you have no one to answer to, and therefore you have no limitations on your behavior, you can do whatever you want. And of course that's wrong. For one thing, and we have to live with one another. We have to get along in our society unless we just want total chaos and riots in the streets, right? And so,
but this is what I'm saying. Why would we have to? We have nobody to answer to. It's like, why
because we have each other.
Why would I care about your feelings, or why should you care about my feelings? You know what I'm saying?
Well, because we have each other to answer to in a culture, and it's not just about. We are a species that live together. With one. We're not like great white sharks that swim around all by themselves. We actually have to get along with each other because that's the kind of being that we are as people. We're social. And we survive because we form these social contracts with each other. You have friends, you have family, you have coworkers, and then you have the community at large. It all scales up. So we all have to answer to each other. And, if you look at what happens with people who think like what you're suggesting, well, I can just go and do whatever I want. I can go and do bad stuff and it doesn't matter. And what do they find usually happens to them? They get picked up by the cops, get arrested, go to jail. So evidently it does matter.
I mean, but that honestly, if there's nobody to answer to, it's like we won't see nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's all good to do that. It's all good to go rob and steal and do all that, regardless of what the law said.
Yeah, but if the law picks you up and puts you in jail, then you can sit there in your jail cell all day long trying to convince yourself that what you did was fine and good. But if you've had your freedom taken away and then you've had your rights taken away because you're a convicted felon, then, if that doesn't get the message across to you, then I don't really see what will. Most people, it's natural for us to get along. It's a lot of people talk about, well, what could I do, what could I not do, depending on what I believe or what. But really, when you get right down to it, this whole idea that morals simply come from following authority doesn't really work, because if that were the case, if it were simply about, well, this is only right and wrong because there's a God or an ultimate authority that says it's right or wrong, then think about it. If that ultimate authority or God or what have you one day said, well, I declare it to be morally right and for everyone to kill their own children, and so I command you to do this, well, would it be the right thing to do? Would you turn around that day?
In my eyes, of course, it would never be right to kill a child.
Well, see, there you go. See, there you are.
You don't need a God to determine what's moral, because if your God came to you and said, kill your kids, you'd say, no, that's wrong. Because
I'm saying, honestly, I would think that, I would think it's wrong, but, God wouldn't, I take that back. God would just like he did with the ram and all that stuff in the bush and stuff. But
the thing is,
if he would have come to me personally and tell me something like that, of course, I'd do it hands down.
You do what?
Right, you wouldn't do it?
I would do it.
You would do it?
Yes, I would.
You would kill your kid if God told you to?
Yes, well, definitely.
Okay, then you're beyond hope. You're an immoral person who doesn't understand that you are your own moral authority. In much the same way that your first instinct was to say, this is wrong and I wouldn't do it, why would you ever worship some God that would tell you to do something like that?
But he hasn't told me to do
something like that. He hasn't told you yet. He hasn't told you yet.